Hey everyone, RemanX here with a warning for you. Next patch could become a huge crunch, and we're going to talk about why, just from perspective of what you're going to think about working on, what you're going to want to start farming now, and just the expectations based on previous teams and reworks, what you want to start looking forward to. So we're going to talk about the Heroes for Hire team. You'll see that I've marked Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist. The expectation is that they'll likely be part of this team. Now, problem is their bio gear, and if you haven't finished your symbiotes, we don't know what they're going to fit in. Are they going to be anything but a defensive war team? We don't know, but just be prepared that they're going to be drawing some bio and mystic gear from you. But the real crunch is going to become two key factors. It's going to be skill. So if you didn't work on skill military, I'm curious to see what the team put together for the skill rework. And to give you an idea, this attention to detail, this rework is something they really haven't done on a whole team in the past. They did it on like a single character, like Magneto back in the day, to make sure his pull worked correctly, and just some additional ability changes over time to make sure that they were meta, like when they fixed the brokenness of Black Order when the passive for Thanos wasn't working correctly. This is a little bit different. This is to make them relevant. So the question is, are they going to supplant the recommendations for the skill team? And are you going to want to have them as an offensive juggernaut down the line? So realistically, I'm going to say this right now. You're going to try to prioritize your characters based on a couple of key factors. Regardless of where you are in the game, you're going to want to set your sights on wherever your Dark Dimension 2, 3, or 4. 1 isn't something that's easily accomplished even at the beginning of the game, because getting those 6 stars is more random, and getting back through it with Ultron is a joke. I'm not kidding. So focus on DD2, DD3, and DD4, and try to have characters that fit into each one of those, so that if you work a character up to G13, it's something you plan on bringing to G14 or G15. That's a big deal that you need to account for. After all that's done, there are so many relevant teams coming out that I think in a lot of cases our heads are spinning. And the idea is prioritizing what you need to beat. And so if you're building a war team, war offense for me always gets a bigger priority than war defense. However, this new team, especially if you have T4s already in your defenders because you were ahead of the meta, that's the right way to put it, because you were ahead of the meta, means that you're probably going to be better prepared for when Colleen Wing and Misty Knight drop. Now, we don't know how substantially powerful they are, but she's already scary when looking at Colleen Wing's kit, that she's already going to need something like Black Bolt or Silver Surfer to accommodate her relatively easily, and that's something you may want to be pulling off of a defense if you're using them there. So your teams are in flux. So right now, this is going to be a really interesting patch for raids. Now, we did get some hints that the strike for the Doom raid is ending. So just like previous, we had like we had a couple of tech teams, Tech Wing, and we had a couple of other teams that did U7 before we had the slider. So stay tuned. When that comes out, we're definitely going to take a look at the slider difficulty to see what changes need to be made to your roster. Based on that, it's entirely possible that some of the work we've already done and some of the characters recommended have become obsolete as they make those changes. And hopefully they make the early stages more doable, like they did with the U7 team, to make it more accessible for folks. That being said, maybe that'll help a lot more people get to Silver Surfer milestones. So fingers crossed that happens next patch or two to relieve some of the frustration that is the raids. But you need to start thinking about skill gear. And the most important thing that I think we're probably not farming, and you'll see it right here, is origin gear. So we're going to talk about origin gear. Like, obviously, mutants are the only one that have a double drop. The other characters, the other origins don't have that. So you want to start farming skill if you're planning on bringing up Colleen Wing. If your defenders are like mine, you're going to start looking at your isomers. Now, isomers are used by a lot of characters, so I have probably enough to bring up 1 or 2 characters. And so one of the things that happens is the patch day looks like it's Tuesday or Wednesday coming up this week. And so you want to make sure you stay tuned when that goes live. A lot of the information will come out from either data mines or from the content creators with their envoy videos, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, that'll showcase these teams and their best potential. And the unknown factor that is Kestrel and how she's going to affect the meta, we could really see a lot of shift in the roster. There's a lot of theories about Kestrel because she kind of has a shield logo on her. Is she going to make that team relevant, or are you going to be able to kind of pick and choose teams for a little while to figure out which ones to build? And so there's a lot of skill on that shield team if she makes them more relevant and they become a staple of war, defense, or offense. So stay tuned, guys. A new crunch is definitely incoming. It's really important to understand that if you build up one of these meta teams to G14, you're going to start depleting your resources. If you bring in the G15 level 80, you're going to start feeling that training mat crunch. So how do you accomplish that? Well, I'm going to say this right now. Probably the majority of us aren't farming enough gear every day. We're probably just doing the basic farm for our daily objectives to make sure we get our 600 for our daily energy, right? And that's a big difference here. The other thing is if you're doing that, you're going to get a little bit more training mats every day, and you should stabilize down the road. Again, if you're taking up all 3 or 4 of these teams that could be enhanced by this patch, not kidding. While I was doing it, it looked like potentially 4 teams, maybe even 5, are enhanced by this upcoming patch. You're going to wind up behind in what you got to do. So you don't, nothing really, and we heard that in the interview, it's going to be skippable. The idea is they're all going to be relevant based on their placement. You just have to prioritize. Right? The next piece of the puzzle I'm going to say is something that I guarantee we're not doing enough of, is farming for ISOs. And ISOs are going to become a very, very a powerful addition coming down the road here. But more importantly, just from what I've seen from chat, is until the strike pass, many people didn't even know they were getting a second energy drop every day to be able to farm the free energy. So they were able to get that and hit that 400 relatively easily until that milestone hit, or the strike pass hit, and we saw that objective. Many people just did not know that they could do that, and so they're winding up way behind. You're going to have to start prioritizing characters towards 4, potentially 5 down the road, and we'll probably get into that. We're going to have some more ISO revelations as more time happens on the channel. Stay tuned for that. But your big crunches, guys, is, I think, Colleen Wing. If you want a phenomenal defense team and you've built up your defenders, she's probably going to be a really powerful solution for you and really hard for teams to overcome. I fully expect that when this team goes live, they might be Mercenaries 2.0. They're starting to shape up that way. The fact that they're unkillable targets, they're either Mercenaries 2.0 or potentially Hydra 2.0, or maybe a hybrid of the two, where there's going to be a challenge when they're built up to the high potential that they actually have. Again, Silver Surfer, the fact that the free-to-play just started getting him this week means that they probably won't have him high enough to really counter bigger defenses. So expect that this is going to be a challenge as we expand. If Doom and other teams are on defense, it's going to be really hard to counter the heroes for hire. So, priorities. You need a Doom killing team. You need one. You need a reliable one. You need an Marauder killing team. You need a mercenary killing team. A lot of other stuff can flex out and do a lot of other purposes. Now you're probably going to need a heroes for hire killing team. And if you're building defense, maybe you start shifting some of the resources you were putting in Marauders into heroes for hire. We'll have to stay tuned. Patch day is going to be a big day, but crunch is on. T4s for sure are going to be the biggest cry for help from us to Scopely for relief coming this patch for sure. You heard it here first, guys. Remember, I do things so you don't have to, and I'm actually hoarding T4s right now. So that should tell you a little bit about my expectations without any previous knowledge. I just try to hoard them so I can build up a team to showcase it for you guys to see what the real minimum investment is in them to make them really work. Check you guys soon.